voices singing, arise, Makerere. Rise up and rise, higher and high. All voices singing, arise, Makerere. Makerere, Makerere. We build for the future, the great Makerere. Great, great and mighty, the walls around me. Great, great and mighty, the gates beside me. Great, great and mighty, the walls around me. Great, great and mighty, the gates beside me.
Thank you. To invite the chaplain, Reverend Onesimus Asimwe, the chaplain, Makerere University, St. Francis Chapel, to lead us in prayer.
Rita, in prayer. Thank you for bringing us together for this ceremony, the handover and the inauguration of the Board of Trustees of the Makerere University Endowment Fund. Thank you, Lord, for the chairperson of Makerere University Council, Mrs. Lona Magara, who is here, and for the vibrancy and the
Blessings, blessings. The occasion is blessed. Yes, allow me to humbly invite Professor Elia Hisali to deliver his welcome remarks and recognize the outgoing board. I'll also request Professor Elia Hisali at the end of his remarks and recognition of the outgoing board to invite Mrs. Rona Magara, the chairperson of council, to present certificates of appreciation to the outgoing board. Thank you. You're welcome. Please welcome Professor Elia Hisali. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rita. The chairperson and members of the University Council, members of management of Makerere University, staff of the university, the members of the outgoing board of trustees of the Makerere University Endowment Fund, members of the incoming board, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. And a very warm welcome to this very important occasion as we try to build for the future of this university. Madam Chair and members have a very simple duty to present the comments of my supervisor, the Vice Chancellor. But before I do that, kindly permit me say just a few things. One, since I am here in my own capacity as well, and having been part of the initial processes of this fund, one is to most sincerely appreciate the members of the outgoing board. Thank you for accepting to pioneer these efforts, and thank you for the contribution that you have made over the time you have served. Thank you so much. To you, the chair and members of council, to appreciate you again most sincerely for continuing to steer these very important initiatives of the university, but also in this particular case, accepting to reappoint some of the outgoing members of the board onto the new board. Now, that is very important for purposes of institutional memory. I think it was going to be very important to have that gap closed. So we really appreciate your leadership and guidance. Thank you so much. Now to the new board that is coming in to steer the activities of the endowment fund. Yes, the terms of reference will be given. You will definitely have a wealth of experience in terms of what you are supposed to do, but just to appeal to you in a very humble way that we will continue to listen to the innovative ideas, even if they are outside of the terms of reference. We can listen, we can engage on this, and together build this as a very solid fund that we can all be very proud of. I will just give one example on the objectives of the fund. I think we need to begin debating this. Should it, for example, be a general purpose fund that can do each and everything? Or is it possible that in the initial phases of the fund, we can scale down on its scope and agree that the returns to the investments of this fund will go to do certain specific things. This is just an example that we need to get in with a very open mind, but we need to focus on growing it. So thank you so much. So I will now move on to present the speech of the Vice Chancellor. The Chairperson, University Council, the Chairperson, FPIC, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic Affairs, the DVC, Finance and Administration, whom I'm also representing, the University Secretary, outgoing Chairperson and members of the board, the incoming Chairperson and members of the board, members of staff, ladies and gentlemen. I warmly welcome you to this special occasion to recognize and appreciate the efforts of the outgoing Board of Trustees, as well as inaugurate the new board for the Endowment Fund. On behalf of management, I extend sincere gratitude to the outgoing board, led by Dr. Martin Alike, for the pioneer efforts and selfless leadership to the Endowment Fund, whose concept had not been fully appreciated by many university stakeholders. I have reviewed the fund reports and wish to commend the outgoing board on the following achievements. One, identifying and entering into contract with 2 fund managers, Gen Africa for the onshore fund and Crown Agents Investment Management for the offshore fund based in the UK. As management, we commend the professionalism and integrity by the 2 fund managers. 2, the oversight of the outgoing board enabled prudence in investment, which resulted in a commendable return on investment. The onshore fund grew from nothing in 2014 to now 1.5 billion shillings from contributions, donations, fundraising activities, and return on investments. The offshore fund is now valued at £1.5 million, which is the equivalent of 7.1 billion shillings. Number 3, the outgoing board also did an admirable job in popularizing the University Endowment Fund through its various activities, including the Mac Run conducted in 2017, 2018, and 2019. I implore the incoming board to build on this and increase the range of outreach activities, not just to popularize, but grow the fund value. Number 4, I commend the outgoing board for reaching out and encouraging colleges at the university to make contributions to the fund. The College of Business and Management Sciences is one of those colleges that positively responded by establishing a college endowment under the main University Endowment Fund. I therefore call upon other colleges to follow the good example of Cobham's and establish their own endowments under the University Endowment Fund. And 5, I further commend the outgoing board for reaching out to Makerere University affiliated institutions, such as the Makerere College School, to contribute to the fund in response to a resolution by the University Council. I implore the incoming board to make efforts to implement this further by reaching out to all the other affiliated institutions for their contributions. To the incoming board, as fiduciaries, members of the incoming board have a legal and moral obligation to all stakeholders who have contributed to the endowment fund. Many of them have contributed gifts and money to ensure that Makerere builds for the future. As the incoming board explores ways of growing the fund, should you consider to diversify into infrastructural development, I propose that you monumentally recognize the individual contributors who entrusted funds to Crown Agency Investment Management based in the UK for investment purposes. These funds included: 1, the Alice Davy Fund; 2, the College Investment Fund; 3, the Fisher Scholarship Fund; 4, the Nuffield Education Fund; then the Prizes Fund as number 5, and then 6, the Sir D. Cameroon Prize Fund and the College Endowment Fund. In 1986, the above 6 endowment funds were amalgamated and became the Makerere University Investment Fund, and in 2014 renamed the Makerere University Endowment Fund. While we acknowledge that we are at the infancy, management looks forward to a future Makerere University Endowment Fund able to: 1, support the university academic endeavors, including attainment of higher levels of quality and global ranking; 2, increased financial aid to deserving students from humble backgrounds; 3, support the university research agenda through sustainable commitments to faculty engaged in pioneering research; and 4, support the university undertake long-term strategic planning, confident of financial support from the endowment. I once again appreciate the efforts of the outgoing board and commit management to offer all the necessary support to the incoming board during its tenure as we build for the future. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my singular honor and pleasure to request the chairperson of the University Council to speak to us. Thank you, Madam Chair. As the chair comes in to speak to us, I think we'll do one other function of giving the certificates to the outgoing members of the board. I hope you are ready. Okay. The first one goes to Professor John Dumba Sentamu. EPC, can you kindly pick it on his behalf? Secretary. The second one will go to Ambassador Edith Sempala. Mr. Barnabas to Msingize. Mr. Grace Isabrie. Honorable Gerald Karuhanga. Mr. Martin Owini, who is also joining us online. And Dr. Martin Alke. Thank you. Madam Chair, we also have a token of appreciation in addition to the certificates of recognition to the outgoing members. I want again to request that we hand this over, starting with the two colleagues who are around. Mr. Grace Sabirie. And Mr. Barnabas Tumusingize. So the rest will be received later. I think we'll be able to hand this over person. So, Madam Chair.
I'd like to maybe start by inviting the outgoing chair, who is represented by Mr. Barnabas Singwise, to give his remarks. Then I'll come on.
To all members gathered, I'm going to read verbatim the speech by our outgoing chairman, Dr. Martin Aleke, and these are his words. The chairperson of the University Council, the chairperson of the Council Committee for Finance, Planning and Administration, Vice Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Finance and Administration, University Secretary, incoming chairperson and members of the board, members of the outgoing board, ladies and gentlemen. It was an honor for me and my colleagues to serve as the inaugural board of the Makerere University Endowment Fund from 2014 to 2019. On behalf of the outgoing board, I thank the University Council for entrusting us with the honor to serve our alma mater. As a pioneer board of trustees, we were tasked with establishing and operationalizing the fund. We did our best to nurture the nascent endowment concept and achieved the following. A, appointed the fund administrator, the fund manager, and the custodian for the efficient management of the endowment fund. B, kept proper books and records of accounts in respect of income and expenditure of the fund. Today, I and my team are pleased to hand over a record of the performance of the fund over our tenure. This record is, to the best of our knowledge, a reflection of a good performance given the nascent nature of the concept of a university endowment. C, we ensure the university honors its part of the process to collect and remit student collections. We therefore opened up 3 bank accounts in DFCU and Standard Chartered Bank for collection and investment purposes. D, in addition to the student collections, we reached out to alumni and friends of Makerere. From scratch, the onshore fund grew to UGX 1.2 billion by the end of our tenure. This was possible through several income-generating activities, including the Mark Run, which generated revenue through kits and sponsorship. C, the onshore return on investment performance during our tenure was 14.5%. All this investment was undertaken through treasury bills, bonds, equities, and cash deposits. Our board considered investing in securities as the primary approach to growing the fund through capital appreciation. Despite the above positives, the board also experienced some challenges, including A, slow pace of remittance from the center. At the end of our tenure, the center owed the fund over 400 million, accumulated over several years. The new board must work out an arrangement with the university management to ensure that all the money collected is immediately remitted to the fund for further management and investment. B, while the concept of university endowment is popular in many universities in the global north, we noted that the idea was nascent in Makerere and indeed on the African continent. For instance, there are a few studies that have been conducted to examine the utility and systematic trends that bear useful lessons for the board and other stakeholders. C, I would like to make it known that the outgoing board, despite intensive pressure from council, refused to repatriate 1 million British pounds from the offshore fund in the United Kingdom. As I conclude, I wish the incoming board chaired by Dr. Maggie Chigozi all the success. We commit our availability for consultations as and when the need arises. As we build for the future, Dr. Martin J. Alike, outgoing chairperson, Makerere University Endowment Board of Trustees. Thank you.
Another hand clap. Thank you so much. Yes, Professor Elia Hisali, we welcome you back to the podium to present the profiles of the new board members in line with our program.
Yes, thank you, Rita. And as we do that, we'll request the members of the incoming Board of Trustees to join us here on the podium. Members and the members of the outgoing board who are not part of the new board, kindly assume the seats. Thank you, and you are most welcome. Madam Chairperson of Council and members, I now have the pleasure to present to you the incoming board of trustees of the Makerere University Endowment Fund. Madam Chair and members and staff, the chairperson of the incoming board is Professor Maggie Chigozi. Professor Maggie Chigozi is a medical doctor by training and has practiced medicine in Uganda, Kenya, and Zambia. Over the last 40 years, Professor Maggie Chigozi has transcended medicine to business, education, sports, and public investment. She was a shareholder in charge of marketing and public relations at Crown Beverages, popularly known as Pepsi. In 1999, she was appointed executive director of the Uganda Investment Authority, where she promoted and facilitated investments worth over $14 billion. She has and continues to serve on several boards, including the Trustee Share Foundation UK, Africa Scout Foundation, Akina Mama wa Africa, Private Sector Foundation Uganda, NCBA Bank as a non-executive director, and she's a fellow of the Uganda National Academy of Science. You're welcome, Professor Chigozi. Next is Professor Cumber, who is a specialist in public sector management and currently serving as a Deputy Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs at Makerere University. He is the immediate former Dean of the School of Business at Makerere University, a position he held for 8 years. He previously served as the head of Department of Marketing and Management under the School of Business. Is the chairperson to the governing boards and councils of reputable institutions, including FOM Foundation, Uganda Business and Technical Examinations Board, Buganda Luchiko Finance, Planning and Investments Committee, Buganda Royal Institute of Business and Technical Education, Kawempe Muslim Secondary School, and Chira Junior School. He's also a member of the Makerere University Council, the University Senate, as well as the Infectious Diseases Institute of Makerere University. You're welcome, Professor Kakumba. Mr. Martin Owinyi is an executive director at Jomo Investments and Trustee Services, a retirement benefits and capital market solution provider. Over the last 22 years, Martin has served in various portfolios in a number of leading East African financial institutions and organizations of high repute. He was the executive director, KCB Bank, responsible for the overall bank strategic outlook, vision, mission, core values, and principles. He was the general manager, Stanley Investment Management Services Uganda, responsible for implementing systematic and effective execution of low-cost marketing and asset management growth strategies. He was a relationship manager, Standard Chartered Bank, Uganda, responsible for marketing to high quality, high value, non-managed and managed trade and SME businesses in Uganda. You're welcome once again, Mr. Martin Owini. Next, Madam Chair, is Mr. William Ndolete, who is currently serving as an Assistant Commissioner in charge of Social Services at the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. William has over 20 years of experience in government, specifically in budgeting, planning, and economic analysis. He is the head of Social Services Unit of the Ministry of Finance, Planning, and Economic Development. He's a policy analyst and oversees the preparation of sector budget framework papers, budget estimates, and analysis of budget performance, appraises monitoring and evaluation of projects, coordinating the design and execution of country programs, and prepares the development budget release. You're welcome, Mr. Ndolete. Next is Ms. Anne Duko. Ms. Anne Duko is the Chief Executive Officer of Stanley Bank, Uganda, and has a wealth of experience in the financial industry with regional and global expertise in banking for over 20 years. She is the former head of global markets for Stanbic Uganda and corporate and investment banking at Standard Bank, Namibia. She is the former vice president and head fixed income, currencies and commodities at Citibank Uganda Limited, and was later seconded to Citibank Kenya as the Vice President, Customer Sales and Derivatives Marketing. Welcome, Madam Anne Duko. Next, we have Mr. Kenneth Mugambe as a member. Mr. Kenneth Mugambe is the Director in charge of budget at the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. He has over 20 years working experience in planning, public expenditure management, public sector budgeting, macroeconomic management, and public administration. He is a former principal economist responsible for budget execution and evaluation section of the Budget Policy and Evaluation Department in the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. He is also a former commissioner of Budget Policy and Evaluation Department at the same ministry, responsible for drawing up the National Medium-Term Expenditure Framework, which is used as a tool to determine the national expenditure priorities, as well as rationalization of resource allocation, both in the short and medium term. Welcome, Mr. Kenneth Mugambe. Last but not least is Mr. Barnabas Tumusingize, who is also a member. Mr. Barnabas Tumusingize is an advocate of the High Court of Uganda and a financial services sector practitioner with S&L Advocates. He heads the team at S&L Advocates, which advises 12 commercial banks in Uganda. He is also retained as legal counsel by the region's 2 leading development banks. Mr. Tumusingize possesses considerable experience and expertise in disputes work. His disputes practice covers banking and financial law, construction, commercial contracts, insurance, telecommunications, and regulatory affairs. He's a member of several professional bodies, including the International Bar Association, the East Africa Law Society, and the Uganda Law Society. You are most welcome, Mr. Tumusingize. Thank you so much. And once again, we go back to our program. And Madam Chair, it's now my humble honor and pleasure to invite you to speak to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Hisali. Once again, a very warm welcome to everybody present here and online. Members of the University Council present and online, the Vice Chancellor and members of the University Management, members of the incoming and outgoing Board of Trustees of the Makerere University Endowment Fund, ladies and gentlemen. It's my singular pleasure and honor to officiate at the inauguration of the Board of Trustees of the Makerere University Endowment Fund. I warmly welcome all of you to this occasion. I'd like to start by inviting everyone to join me in appreciating the contribution of Dr. Martin Alikea and the members of the outgoing Board of Trustees, whose dedicated service has led us to this day. Ladies and gentlemen, let's just give them a round of applause. Thank you very much, Dr. Alikea and your team. It is slightly more than 7 years since the University Council established the Makerere University Endowment Fund as one of its, at its 130th meeting that was held on 20th February 2014. The motivation to set up this fund was to build a sustainable financial base for Makerere University and diversify revenue beyond the reliance on student fees and government subventions. The motivation to set up Makerere University Endowment Fund is much more critical today than it was then. The financial demands for the university will continue to rise following the current and future ambitions in research and innovation, along with the need to implement new technologies for teaching and learning. In June of 2020, the university adopted a new strategic plan with the goal of building a world-class research-led university. The targets in the new strategy cover growing the university's research portfolio, infrastructure development, improvements in staff and student welfare, to mention just a few. These aspirations require significant financial investments, yet the university's traditional revenue streams, which are government subvention and student fees, have not and may not be easily increased. Therefore, I convey our most profound appreciation to Dr. Martin Alikea and his team for steering the endowment fund, which is a crucial vehicle to Makerere's development outlook. Recently, the council noted that the fund is now worth about 9 billion Uganda shillings. At the time of handover, its governance to the new board. Dr. Alikere, we applaud you and your team for the outstanding achievement. In the same spirit, I would like to warmly welcome Professor Maggie Chigozi and your team as the new Board of Trustees of the fund. Thank you for responding positively to our call for you to serve Makerere University. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Maggie Chigozi's profile as Executive Director of the Uganda Investment Authority for 12 years, from 1999 to 2011, and taking over from Dr. Martin Alikere, a strong business leader with decades of long experience, is a great opportunity for Makerere University. With his expertise, Dr. Alikere and his team have made and saved 9 billion shillings for the fund, which is now available for Professor Maggie Chigozi as an investment authority and her team to invest. So the University Endowment Fund is still modest relative to similar initiatives of our international peers. I'm, however, convinced that the fund is on the right path. Dr. Alikere and his team have laid a strong foundation in leveraging the various channels to mobilize resources for Makerere University. It will now be up to the new board to pursue the multiple opportunities available amongst alumni, local and international philanthropists, the private sector, government and development partners to raise the fund to greater heights. The University Council has endeavored to set up a conducive policy environment for the trustees to manage the fund successfully. The recently approved Makerere University Investment Policy and the Endowment Fund Rules and Trustee Deed are the existing legal frameworks to guide the Endowment Fund activities. I once again thank you, the outgoing board, for your outstanding service, and congratulate the new appointed Board of Trustees of the Makerere University Endowment Fund and wish you a fruitful tenure. It is my greatest honor to inaugurate the new Board of Trustees as we build for the future. Thank you very much. I would now like to, even as we receive you into your new office, to hand over to you the files for your service, but also will give you some pins just to remind you of the work that you're starting. I'll request my colleague here to help read out the names for me to pin you or to hand over, plus give you the files. We'll start with the chair, Dr. Maggie Chigozi. Yes, do we also?
Mr. Barnabas.
Mr. Barnabas. Barnabas.
Professor.
Professor Umaruka Cumber.
Mr. William. Mr. William. Mr. William.
Thank you very much. And for those members that are not here, we'll be able to deliver your files and your pins. Once again, thank you very much. I would now like to invite the incoming chair, the new chair, Professor Maggie Chigozi, to give her opening remarks.
The chairperson of the University Council, Madam Makerere, the chairperson of the Council Committee for Finance, Planning, Administration and Investment, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic Affairs, representing the Vice Chancellor, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Finance and Administration, the University Secretary, to the outgoing chairperson and members of the board, Dr. Martin Alike and his members, my fellow incoming members of the board, university staff present here, but also online, many of you are online, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed an honor, and I'm humbled, Madam Chair, to have been appointed to serve as the second chairperson of the Board of Trustees of the Makerere University Endowment Fund. Makerere University is not only a premier institution of higher learning in Africa, but also my alma mater. As you heard, I was here from 1969, actually 1970 to 1976 at Mulago at the medical school at Mulago. And like all students here, those were such important years of my life, being a part of this great institution. And at that time, right now, you have so many students. We were very few. So it was truly an honor and a privilege to have been selected. So many people who would have loved to be with us here were not with us. There were so few of us. So we do not overlook the privilege of having been given those years to study at Makerere University. When I became a doctor, because of the turmoil in Uganda, Madam Chair, I had to leave Uganda. And I first of all went to Zambia. I walked up into the Ministry of Health in the morning and came out with a job. No question. Makerere University. That's all I needed. All I needed. And it is still the case today. I left and went to Kenya, same thing. Ministry of Health, walked in, walked out with a job at Kenyatta National Hospital. And I owe that. My friends who did not have similar backgrounds were suffering as refugees. When we left Uganda, you either were like us, you could get a job, or you were a refugee. So we were not refugees, and we owe that to this great institution that is Makerere University. I want to add my voice to the voice, that of the chairperson of the University Council, and also to say I'm so proud, again, that we've dropped another ceiling as a feminist. Lona Magara is the chair of council. I am so proud of that seat being held by a woman for the very first time. And to be here working with you will be such an honor. And the young girls out there watching us,
watching you, watching me. They are motivated. They know they can aim for the highest, and that is excellent. So I want to thank the university for that, having achieved that step towards empowering women in this institution of ours. I want to thank the Vice Chancellor, the outgoing board led by Dr. Martin Aleke for the excellent job well done. We have seen the results. Despite the challenges associated with steering an inaugural board started very recently, 7 years ago, with a new concept. The highlights from the report that we have had and that of the Vice Chancellor shows the immense efforts that Dr. Martin and the team have put into this. My board will, of course, ride on the firm foundation you have set, Dr. Martin Aleke, to support the council and management to realize the aspirations of the fund. From the submission of the outgoing chair and vice chancellor, it's clear that the fund is still preoccupied with the first two objectives, understandably, to receive or mobilize funds and invest the funds to grow the fund. The third objective, which reinforces the need to fund scholarships, research, infrastructure, teaching and learning materials, staff remuneration, and activities will only be realized much later as we grow the fund further. But as the new board, this is something we shall sit and look at. What can be done? How can we help Makerere University to be more sustainable and to grow? As I was appointed chairperson of this board, I took time to read about endowments. In one of the papers, I read about why universities hold endowments rather than immediately get money and spend all gifts. The author stated that universities create endowment funds to ensure the survival of universities' reputational capital, protect intellectual freedom, and hedge against financial shocks, which we have seen happening over and over, even within the last 99 years of Makerere University. So based on the above, I therefore wish to highlight some of the immediate areas that we will deliberate and agree upon to define our tenure. We will develop the first one and roll out a robust visibility and mobilization campaign hinged on the following: a digital platform to mobilize alumni. We have alumni all over the world. Our diaspora out there, the foreigners that we've had in our classes. I remember we had someone from Malawi, someone from Nigeria, East Africa, of course, we had quite a few. So all these people are out there, and really they owe this institution their livelihood and what they have been able to achieve, and they don't forget that. So this digital platform will enable us to contribute to our ongoing university activities, such as the Mac Run, as well as profile our alumni. They are out there in huge positions. They run so many things. They're in politics, they are in business, they are out there. Do we know them? Can we begin to know them? It's important that we do, so that our younger trainees, students, will have something that will make them feel motivated to do much more. And also, they should begin to contribute to the institution that made them, and that is through this, our endowment fund. We'd also like to increase the endowment fund presence on the World Wide Web, including a dedicated website that highlights the projects of the fund and the various ways through which contributions can be made. And I think that issue of various ways is something my board needs to sit and really make it as simple, as easy as possible for somebody who wants to contribute to become a member. But not only that, to be recognized. If I'm wearing something like this, that not this one's special for us, but something like this, proudly all over the world, me who could get a job anywhere at any time because of this, they would love to do that. So how can we seek their contributions and recognize them towards our endowment fund? We also need to increase the endowment fund presence on the World Wide Web with a dedicated website. My board will sit and develop, with assistance, of course, of our board members who are continuing with us, and we'd really like to welcome you in a special way because you bring that knowledge of what has been happening that we can then build on. Plus the Mali Secretariat, and of course, the Vice Chancellor and Makerere University to diversify the investment portfolio, to grow the asset selection and minimize potential investment risks. My board will develop portfolios that are optimal and respond to pre-specified investment objectives. From my experiences in the investment world, I am aware that an investor's asset allocation decision has a strong bearing on portfolio performance of a fund. Together with my colleagues, we will review the asset allocations and, in consultation with existing policies, determine the best options for the fund. Broadly, we will be guided by the university investment policy to develop the board's 4-year investment plan. And through the investment plan, we will allocate assets and monitor the performance of the fund. Thirdly and lastly, the board will discuss and recommend to yourselves, Madam Chair, the University Council, the policy shifts necessary for prudent governance and management, asset portfolio growth, and fund support to the core mandate of the university. We look forward to working closely with the University Council and with other university stakeholders to build the fund as a key initiative to support financial sustainability. As I finalize, I would like to highlight one important issue for consideration by the university. There is a lack of empirical studies specific to the nascent endowment fund terrain on the continent, making it difficult for institutions like this board to systematically examine trends in the endowment sector as a whole. With an increasing research portfolio at Makerere, I would like to implore the university to invest in research in this area, which will benefit us and help us to grow the portfolio. I once again want to thank the University Council for this appointment. I'm humbled, I'm extremely proud to be in this, my alumni. I used to walk a few miles from Mary Stewart in the first year to get to Mulago, but they built one that was closer for us. All the medical students transferred then to Africa Hall, which was a lot closer. So I am really humbled that I've been given this opportunity, and I accept to serve as chairperson of the Board of Trustees for this endowment fund and promise that we shall do our best. I thank you very much.
Congratulations, Professor Maggie Chigozi and the entire Board of Trustees, Makerere University Endowment Fund. We look forward to a very successful tenure, as you have indicated and highlighted, in your acceptance speech. In a very special way, I thank the media team that has been covering this occasion: New Vision, the Daily Monitor, KFM, UBC Television, The Observer newspaper. I also thank the people managing Zoom, Makerere University Odell team, Dr. Mayende and team, thank you so much. The people managing the live streaming, that's Makerere University Public Relations Office and the Directorate of ICT Support. Thank you for making sure that we are visible online. Yes, in line with our program, I'm requesting you to rise for the anthems. After the anthems have been requested, those of us who are here will have photo number 1 somewhere in front here, but then also the photography team also needs another type of photo for some future engagements that will be outside. There is a space they have identified with some nice background. As we get outside here, they'll guide us. Kindly let us all rise for the anthems. In the reverse order, that's Makerere University anthem, 2 stanzas, East African anthem, 1 stanza, and the national anthem, 1 stanza. Okay. All right, I'm requesting, let us ensure our masks are on. And the photography team, it's now your turn to, you ask me for photo number 1 down here, inside, and then after, you'll please lead us to also the other point you identified just outside the auditorium. And to those following us virtually, Professor Helen Byamgisha, a member of the university management, congratulates the team. That's the message coming through the chat. But then she also says congratulations to the powerful women. That's coming in from the chat. And also I thank people who have been participating virtually. Dr. Mayanja, Dr. Sabrina Chitaka, Dr. Izo Byamgisha Baine, Professor Helen Byamgisha, Dr. Frederick Muyodi, Mr. Henry Nsubuga, Mr. Martin Owinyi, Professor Patrick Mangen, Mark Wamai, Twekambe Kabaruli, Charles Thomas, Ntende Michael, and a number of other participants. Thank you so much for following us. And then there's a strategic point that was identified. Emmanuel Chitamirike kindly lead the team over to that point so that we are also able to capture the photo. Chaplain, I thought you would also join this, the one that is taking place at the hotel. And this marks the end of our occasion. Thank you for your participation. Bye-bye.
Bye, Rita.